It's time for another WrestlePlanet news update, as an AEW talent has signed a new contract, a major New Japan star has been pulled from more shows, and CM Punk is in talks with AEW over an in-ring return. All that and more coming up in today's video, but first, AEW are coming off the back of a big ratings boost last week for night 1 of Fyter Fest, with a bigger audience expected to tune in tonight on TNT for night 2. The show will see 2 title matches as well as much more, so let's take a look at the card for the show. Frankie Kazarian is set to take on Impact World Tag Team Champion Gallows. The Blade will go up against Orange Cassidy. We'll see the first of the 5 labors of Jericho, where Jericho must defeat all of the Pinnacle in order to get a match with MJF, and tonight he goes up against Shawn Spears, with Spears legally being allowed to use steel chairs. The AEW Women's World Championship will be on the line as Britt Baker defends against Nyla Rose. IWGP United States Champion Jon Moxley will defend against Lance Archer in a Texas Death Match, and finally Darby Allin will take on Wheeler Yuta in singles action, following Darby's win last week in a coffin match over Ethan Page. And it's likely that the IWGP United States Championship match will headline the show, or potentially the Women's World Championship, and even the 5 labors of Jericho could be going on last. And make sure you get your predictions for tonight's matches in the comments down below. The recently debuted Malakai Black shocked AEW when he showed up a mere 30 days after his release from WWE due to a mistake with his non-compete clause in his old contract. His debut had the internet talking not only about his future in AEW, but how WWE missed the boat completely with the former Aleister Black, who has all the talent in the world. The Dutchman recently spoke with Metal Injection and revealed his sights were set on turning up in AEW the moment he was released, and went on to take shots at the current WWE product and said that joining AEW was the immediate thought process. I was sick of it even before everything went down. I loved my time in NXT, but I felt I did nothing of importance on the main roster. It was too much bipolar 50-50 booking. They would push me and pull me off TV. Honestly, that's the entire product right now. There's nothing really consistent. Everything changes week to week or is done to the point of beating it to death. Black went on to discuss he and his wife Zelina Vega's contrasting reactions to his release, revealing that he was laughing while she was crying. He said, "It's funny, but as soon as I got released, my wife started crying, and I actually started laughing because they built me up for 5-6 weeks, they made me come back to SmackDown, and now they're pulling me off TV again. I just couldn't take the whole situation seriously anymore. I realized that this was not worth it anymore. I felt huge relief and just started laughing, and I immediately knew that was the feeling of freedom and not having to deal with it anymore." Black had been off TV for around 7 months before returning right before his release. Clearly this was a frustrating time for him, and his release gave him closure on this dark chapter of his career. Last night's NXT show was main evented by an NXT Women's Championship match, with the champion Raquel Gonzalez taking on the challenge of Xia Li. During the match, there was an incident where Gonzalez hit Li with a twisting splash from the second rope, seemingly injuring her ribs, which led to doctors checking on Li at ringside. The match was paused for a few minutes before the action resumed, then Li was instantly hit with Gonzalez's finish to end the match. This had many fans concerned for her health, but we now have an update from Fightful which suggests that Li appeared to be okay backstage after the show, and it looks like it was nothing more than a knock. As we reported on yesterday's news video, former IWGP World Heavyweight Champion Kota Ibushi was pulled from 3 recent New Japan shows due to what was believed to be symptoms following his recent vaccination. The promotion have now confirmed that this is in fact not the case, and have revealed that Ibushi has been diagnosed with aspiration pneumonia. The NJPW Global account confirmed on Twitter, Kota Ibushi has been diagnosed with aspiration pneumonia. His illness is not connected to his COVID inoculation, as was previously reported. Ibushi will be absent from events through July 24th, with an update being provided on his status on July 25th. Kota Ibushi is scheduled to take on Shingo Takagi this Sunday on July 25th for the IWGP World Heavyweight Championship at Wrestle Grand Slam live in the Tokyo Dome, but many are now assuming that he is set to be pulled from that show too. Aspiration pneumonia is described by Medical News Today as a type of pneumonia that might occur if a person breathes something in instead of swallowing it. The germs from food particles, saliva, vomit, or other substances may infect the airways and lead to aspiration pneumonia. This is a serious infection, and we can only wish Kota Ibushi a healthy and speedy recovery, and I hope that he gets all the treatment he needs to get back in the ring to do what he does best. In a recent video on the DDP Yoga YouTube channel, Jake the Snake Roberts has revealed that he signed a brand new deal with AEW, which will keep him with the company for another 2 years. Roberts, who debuted in March of last year, revealed his contract was originally only 10 weeks long before he signed for another year on top of that, before recently signing his new 2-year deal. Roberts went on to discuss his relationship with AEW president Tony Khan and revealed, "He's such a wonderful man, and he gave me my love for wrestling back. It's great to be part of it, so for me, I've taken on that job, not a job, a pleasure, to keep my eyes open and see people that are struggling and go to them and try to help them." Roberts went on to reveal he would be interested in a commentary role at some point in the future, leaving himself open to fill in for Jim Ross should he need to. Roberts certainly has the talking ability to make an intriguing commentator, and with AEW seemingly setting up a new show every 6 months, he may not have to wait around too long. And quickly, just before we continue, make sure you scroll down and drop a like and subscribe with notifications turned on so you don't miss any upcoming wrestling content as we head towards 20,000 subscribers. But now that you've done that, let's get on with the rest of the video. And finally, we have a report from Fightful that perhaps the biggest return possible to wrestling is set to happen, as CM Punk is said to be in talks with AEW. According to the report, Punk has been in talks to make a return to professional wrestling and will work as an in-ring performer, and Fightful's sources have told them that All Elite Wrestling is his most likely landing point. As of now, there is no official word on a contract being signed between the two parties, and there is also no word on any creative plans or a return date. It is being reported that higher-ups in WWE are under the belief that Punk is AEW bound, which was relayed in the past few days. And it's worth noting that Fightful are an extremely reliable source of news, with them calling the Malakai Black debut hours before Dynamite. This isn't just a random Twitter report, and it comes from credible journalists with close ties within the top 2 promotions in America. This news is absolutely huge and could be the cherry on top of the cake of this new era, which sees fans return to arenas. It's worth remembering that AEW president Tony Khan, who is likely the individual in direct negotiations with Punk, has said that he has some aces up his sleeve, and could CM Punk's debut in front of a packed out arena be his ultimate hand. CM Punk hasn't been seen in wrestling, well, apart from a brief masked appearance on an independent show, since January 2014, with his last match being in the Royal Rumble match of that year. Of course, after his departure from wrestling, he pursued a career in mixed martial arts, jumping straight to the main card of the sport's biggest promotion, the UFC. As we know, it didn't go to plan, and he took 2 devastating losses to Mickey Gall and Mike Jackson, with the latter being ruled a no contest after the fact. Wrestling fans have long called for his return, with his name coming up every time a surprise is teased for either WWE or AEW, but it seems we could be one step closer to it actually happening. Tony Khan is a known CM Punk fan, and as we've discussed in a previous video, Khan did have Punk on his initial shortlist when he started AEW. It's safe to say that AEW television could be getting a little bit more interesting, with AEW perhaps saving his debut for the All Out pay-per-view in Chicago, or maybe having him debut earlier with his first match taking place at the event. I guess we'll have to stay tuned to Dynamite for that cult of personality pop. And who would you like to see CM Punk go up against in AEW? For me, I want to see the promos with MJF, but let me know what you think in the comments down below. And before you go, make sure you check out my 10 cancelled AEW plans video where I discuss CM Punk's history with AEW.